like the rap game type thing. And I loved it. I loved rap music.
Sure.
And so I went out to Nashville with a manager guy.
Nashville?
Yeah.
That's not really the rap capital, is it, or is it?
Exactly. It's not. It's not. But it has turned into, now they're noticed in that
Okay,
game, you know?
okay.
And back then it was really just really starting out. And I just happened to be in with a certain manager and a guy who was really plugged. And I went down there and met some guys, and we started doing shows, started doing concerts, and we went all over the United States. Like, we went everywhere, and I was just really, really blessed to be a part of that and get to see that, especially being from Kennett. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to see that here. You know,
right.
People talk about Kennett, oh, it's, you know, country music, cotton fields and stuff.
Right.
And it really is, but so I got to go do a lot of stuff and see a lot of stuff that probably I shouldn't have got to see or wouldn't have never got to see before if I had never got to go out there with these guys.
Uh-huh.
And but anyway, I ended up moving back to Kennett, and all that kind of like went to a halt when I moved back here because, you know, I had a son on the way,
Uh-huh.
and so I had to do something different for that, and you know, work the ARI.
Okay.
And that was like, you know, it was kind of like the music thing was like a dream. And doing the shows was like extra money, and it was like, you know, you'll never make a living doing it. You'll never do it here in Kennett. So, like, I worked at ARI. I hated it every day of it.
So were you welding up there and stuff, or what'd you do?
Ran machinery.
Ran machinery.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, ARI is American Rail Part Industries. They still have it here in Kennett?
No, it's called Greenbrier now.
Now it's called Greenbrier. Still have it there in Kennett, but there's some other places around as well. But they have that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you're working here. You're doing ARI during the day.
Yeah.
Still trying music at night?
Trying to do music in parties at nighttime. Like the club scene was really good.
So would you like DJ or how did that work?
DJ a lot. I DJ'd a lot. I promoted a lot. Book shows a lot. Performed a lot. You know.
So like you rap too?
Yeah, I did. And it's something that I like, you know, like if you came back to Kennett and told what you did over the weekend, they'd be like, dude, you're lying.
Yeah.
And that happened like so many times. Like you try to say like you was on stage with these legends and doing stuff with these legends. I'm like, yeah, you know, and people just like, oh man, come on. And
like
then,
for real?
Then like when Facebook came along and stuff, like they were like, oh, they're seeing it. You know, it's like, oh, because I wouldn't post a lot, but then sometimes I would. It just depends. Like, you know, I got tired of hearing the lying, oh, you're lying, you know, or this guy's so full of it or whatever. And then people started catching on. And then it's like, I don't know, kind of gave up on the dream of the music thing, because like, you take some losses on these shows and stuff, and it's like, man, I'm done with it. And then it's like, oh, but you got this other guy coming through, so it's, I was always trying to book something, always trying to do a party, always trying to do something. And then, like I said, that was from like '04 to 2010 or whatever. 2011, my son passed away, went through like a real dark depression state for, you know, a while. And then I turned back to the outlet of music again, and the guys from Nashville called, like, hey, we're going back on the road, you know. And so we started going back on the road with them and doing parties here in Kennett again and other places. And ended up quitting the music thing for real. I think the last show I did was like 2016. I think I promoted one in 2017, maybe 18, something like that. It was the last one I really promoted. You know, and along the way, there's like so much talent coming up through here. Like you would see, like people would never think of like the talent base that we had here. And like I do these shows with these major artists, and I bring guys from here to be on those shows to open up and stuff, and try to do something like that with them. But it was just always like, Kennett for real is worse, you know, way worse than Nashville as far as recording and stuff like that, because you're limited to access, and nobody wants to come to a small country spot to pick up, you know, a hip hop artist for real.
Yeah.
And, so it was just like I felt like it was like a dead end thing, and then like streaming took away a lot. You know, that was like it's like a whole different game now from when I was there. Back then we were trying to get hard copy CDs passed out and sell at concerts and stuff. Now it's all digital streaming.
Yeah.
But we've seen there's some guys that like we came up with who now are just now getting their really big break, you know, and it's good to get to see that. And you know, everybody still tags me on their stuff, and it's like, yeah, I know, it's good to see them though.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like, so who were some of the, you know, I know it's back 04 to 10, but who were some of the little bit bigger names that maybe you got to be on stage with?
Man, we like the very first show I did in '05 here, I think, was Haystack, and we brought Jelly Roll with him, and Jelly had never performed, or Jelly didn't have a CD out at the time, or nothing. And
Really?
like this is the first time like we brought him. Like I knew him from Nashville, from the manager that I knew out there, and Stack, because I go out there and see Stack and stuff. And he kept on telling me about this guy, Jelly. I was like, all right, let's see him, you know. And I really, you know, he didn't have no catalog, he didn't have no music and stuff, so I really wasn't. He was good though. I could see he was good. And then like years went by, he was just progressing, and then he's really taken off. And but like Stack took me everywhere with him. Like if you know, we would go all across America, do festivals and stuff like that. Because Stack was pretty well known back then. And but like the biggest thing I think we ever did, we went to a thing called like the Gathering of the Juggalos, ICP thing, and there was like 30,000 people out there for like a whole week. And every artist,
California or something?
It was at this year. They switch it up every year.
Oh, okay.
And this at particular time was at Cavian Rock, Illinois. It's like this little bitty spot out in the middle of nowhere, and they rent this whole place out. And they had a festival. It's like a carnival going on, MMA fights going on, wrestling going on.
That's awesome.
Big stage, you know, $1 million fireworks show at the end of the, you know, and but like that night we was there with like Ric Flair, Ghetto Boys, ICP, just like, man, they bring every artist you could think of through there. And we got, you know, be on stage and do that type of stuff. It's like, we came back to work Monday. You know, it's like, we're back.
Back to ARI on Monday.
Yeah, we really did. Like, really, honestly, that's what happened. And like, people be like, you know, I'm still high from the weekend, like, excited.
Yeah.
And everybody else like, man, I hate being at work. And I'm like, what did you do this weekend? I was like, rock your show with 30,000. And they're like, there goes line again. You know?
Yeah.
And that's how it was, you know?
Yeah.
So then you keep it to yourself because
Yeah.
you're tired of being looked at like that or whatever, and then you try to do a show here. And shows here was always really good. Like, and after 2011, like I told you, like, how the town came behind me and my point of tragedy, I'm also a kin at JC, and the JCs do so much volunteer work and so many good things. Like, we got a reputation for the drinking and partying, the beer drinking, but all that comes with doing something for the community. You know, we do that while we're doing this. And
What are some of the things JCs do? Like, let's promote the JCs for a minute. What are some of the things they do?
Christmas boxes, food boxes. Like, we'll do 200, you know, 250, 300 food boxes where we'll put boxes of food together, like, you know, $100, $200 in each box, and we'll get together and put them on trailers or back of trucks, and we'll go through town and pass out food boxes, scholarships, all types of fundraisers. Anything we do, we put back into the community.
You guys have some cool events too, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember a
The
couple of
barbecue cook-off was a big one. We didn't get to have it this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
During the fair, we'll have a fish stand.
I do like them fish sandwiches. I get them every year, boy.
I think we should still, even though fair this year, I still think we should fire up the stand.
Oh man, for real. Seriously, I was telling my wife last night because Luke Fowler said, because he's JC.
Yeah, he's president.
Yeah, he said, well, we may still cook them fish. I was like,
great idea.
I was like, dude, I'll get one, put a little hot sauce
great
on
idea.
it.
Yeah,
Man,
100%.
those are so good.
Yeah, JCs are a great organization, great group of guys. They helped me during my time of need. So, like, I was just dedicated to it. And now I'm too old to be a JC. You can't be a JC after you turn 40.
Really? So it's like
I'm an exhausted rooster now.
I understand,
you know?
yeah.
I don't feel exhausted, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still a JC. I'm always gonna be a JC.
What if somebody, you know, watching, you know, from Kennan or whatever wanted to join the JCs? How would they go about doing that?
They get invited out by a member, you go to a couple meetings, maybe work a couple events, see if it's really like what you want to do or not, and then you fill out an application and they vote you in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I mean,
Oh,
maybe,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
somebody other
yeah.
good. I mean, it's a great way to help the
Anybody that's
community.
not 40 should go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that you'll get out of it, and you get to give back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, you know, they showed me so much. And then when I was doing the concerts and I do a show here every now and then or a party or whatever, I always try to find something, a way to give back. Like if I had an artist come in, we might like put like a cancer benefit on too. Like there was a couple, like I didn't know them. Like some guys came to me like, hey, you think we can do a fundraiser for so and so? They're having a hard time with cancer or whatever. So if I start a party, we'll donate so much to this profit, this organization or this person.
Yeah.
People who passed away at a young age, sell shirts, you know, at the shows or stuff like that, and yeah, give back. There's always like a way for me to give back because of what happened with me, you know, with King. And I always just went, every show I've ever done here, it's always been, you know, we'll donate some part of the proceeds for a cause. And that's just, I think it's like the Kenneth way.
Yeah.
And I want to keep doing that, you know.
Me too. I think it's important to help each other out. I think that's big time stuff. All right, so you're a parent now. You know,
Yeah.
obviously got all spread out ages. You know.
Yeah.
What's as a parent? You know, what's your goal? Like, what's your goal as a parent? Like, what do you want to accomplish with this?
Man, just I want my kids to know that they're loved and know their parents, both their parents, and that, you know, there's nothing that I wouldn't do for them, nothing. And if I could provide for them and give them the realest advice, like I told you when we did this interview, you know, I don't need no questions to go over. You can ask me whatever. I'm an open book because I want them to learn from my experiences. And I know they're going to make their own choices and stuff, but I want them to know that no matter what, I got their back. Like, wrong, right, we'll find a way. And really that's all I can say I want to do for my kids. Like, you know, any parent wants to give their kids a better life. But I want my kids to know that no matter what, they're loved unconditionally.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's nothing that daddy ain't gonna. I'm gonna take your side.
Yeah.
You know, wrong or right.
Yeah. You gotta look out for that.
Yeah.
You know, so in your family, you know, who do you admire the most? Like in your family, like who's somebody, you know, maybe, you know, whoever in your whole family, you know, whether it's your parents, your grandparents, or, you know, kids, who do you kind of admire the most?
My grandparents were like the best. They was the best grandparents. Like, we all say it all the time, like all of us grandkids, like I was the favorite. All of us believe that we was the favorite because that's how they made us feel.
Yeah.
And when I came here in Kennett, like I didn't have a lot of family here. And like on my street where I grew up Manchester Street, there were some people that lived across the street from me that just like took to me, and they took to other kids. And all of us boys, like he had a son, and we was all like best friends. And basically we stayed there. Like Kelly Brooks and Darla like raised a whole bunch of kids who wasn't their kids. And like though Kelly is probably like the biggest mentor, biggest, you know, person. Even like no matter what I did, he was always there, like wrong or right, you know. And he wasn't related to me by blood. Yeah. But he was like, you know, like my uncle or my stepdad or adopted dad or whatever. My dad worked 12-hour shifts and was gone a lot, and so I stayed at Kelly's, you know, my whole life. And Kelly passed away a couple years ago, and he to me in Kennett, he's probably like the biggest, you know, influence I had in my life.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. So you've been to all these different places, you know, traveling back when you were doing music or whatever else. What would you have to say would be maybe your most memorable travel experience?
Probably the Cajun Rock Juggalo, Gather the Juggalo thing.
Yeah.
Also, like, in between all that, I've always liked fighting. Like fighting was always my thing.
Yeah.
Even like growing up, street fighting, whatever, wrestling, boxing. I boxed. So boxing, like stand up, was always like my thing. I always, I think everybody does. Like Mike Tyson was my hero in the '80s and '90s and stuff, and Roy Jones, and now they're getting a fight. So that's a good thing for me.
That's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah.
And then like I remember the very first time I watched UFC. And we was just like, oh, this is like blood sport, like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, we're gonna see, and I was just like mesmerized by that whole thing. And so there was no gyms around here back then, and we didn't have wrestling in Kennett. And so we did have a couple guys who taught boxing. There was a few of us that went to boxing up at the dojo they had here. And like, I really didn't like karate and kicking and stuff, so I was just more still into boxing. And then when I was incarcerated, we boxed. And then when I came home, like, the year I came home is the year that the UFC really took off. They did the Ultimate Fighter that first year.
Yeah.
And I was living in Springfield where there was
awesome.
gyms all around my house. And so I'm like going to these gyms, like checking it all out, like, oh, this is MMA. This is how, and like the training there is like crazy.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't that dedicated to getting my nose broken and punched in the face, but these guys have been doing it. So I really didn't train with them a lot. I would go in, box, hit the bags, whatever, and leave. And then came to Kennett, and I want to say it was like 2006. Yeah, like 2006, 2007. One night, I think we was out at a bar, and these guys came in with these flyers, and they was like, we're having the fights here in a couple months, and we've had a couple here in the Boot Hill, and we got some teams coming up. You guys know anybody around here to fight or whatever? We're like looking at, cause we did tough man contests and all that stuff back in the day, but it was just straight boxing.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, all right, cool. So we ended up knowing some guys who was gonna fight here, and we all went and watched. And then I was just like, oh, if we're doing this, if these guys, and back then at the organization was a Boot Hill organization, and I was like, oh, well, we're gonna have to represent Kennett, so. Because every town had a team, and Kennett didn't have one, so me and a couple guys got together, we made a team. First time I went fought, I got demolished. Like, I fought this guy from Malden, and he beat the brakes off of me in front of everybody, too, It was like, oh, well, in the crowd that night, there was a guy from Kennett, and he had been training, and he was tied with some of the best trainers. And whenever I came out of the cage at night, he was like, hey, come here. I was like, man, I didn't know him. I was like, what, And he was like, dude, hold your chin up. He said, whenever you start feeling better and you want to train, give me a call. And he gave me his number. Well, it was probably that Monday, that following Saturday, that Monday, I'm calling. I'm like, hey, where you training at? And he told me, he trained with Native Combat, Gary Singleton. And I was like, I've heard of him. So I go start training with him. And they're the best. Like, these guys are the best. Big Gary passed away. He was the best. He was like, there's nothing he couldn't do to you. And his son, Little Gary, we call him Little Gary, he's older too, but he's the best. He's the best. He's like, I don't know nobody can beat this guy up or even get close to him. And then he was training a guy, Officer Bailey, David Bailey. That's the guy who saw me at the fight and wanted me to train with him. He was trained to be a fighter. He fought at the same weight class I did. And, he was going to start fighting for titles, and so we started training. He went and he fought for titles and stuff, and I fought a couple more times. Well, then I had some other guys who wanted to fight, so I started my own fight team because, like I said, those guys were dedicated fighters, and I'm working at a steel mill or at a factory. I gotta go to work. My leg is hurt because they done leg kicked me. I was like, God, So we started our own fight team who really wasn't that dedicated, and we did that for a little bit, and we ended up training a couple of champs, but everything I did was based off of what Gary taught.
Yeah,
And I'd always try to get Gary to, hey, come in and train. He really didn't want to because he's more of a dedicated guy.
Yeah.
And he don't do the halfway stuff.
Sure.
And we wasn't fully dedicated, so he really didn't like messing with me like that. But he would come, or we'd go to his gym. I bring my guys to his gym, and we'd train, just for our fights. But anyway, we did that for a little bit, and then everybody quit.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, I got a call from another guy said that, we hadn't had no fights at Kennett in a long time. He had a new fight organization. He wanted to bring it to Kennett. What do you think I could do? And I was like, man, the JCs was really looking to do another event, and that was always a good event. I said, let me talk to JCs and see if we can't come up with something. I talked to them, talked to JCs. They're like, yeah, let's do. And back when I fought, we used to do these shows at the end of the year called Seasons Beatings, and it was always the biggest show of the year, and it was a big thing. So I was like, let's do Seasons Beatings in Kennett. And the JCs will promote it and do the back part of it, and you just bring the fighters and stuff. So we did that, and it was really successful. It was like, we ended up having like a guy who was from around here who fought that first time. He fought a young upcoming guy from Kennett who was well known for the main event that night, and it was like a big thing. Like, it was like, this guy was from Cena, and he had been in the game for a while fighting. And he hadn't fought in a long time, because he was old. He's older like me. He hadn't fought in a long time. But then on my fight team, I had a young guy coming up. And
Yeah.
he was well known. He was from Kennett. So it was like, old guy versus the new guy, and we did that, and it was like a big thing. So the very next, that was in December. That January, I had like so many text messages, inboxes, like, hey, where can you train? Can you train us? Can you train us? Can you do this? So I called Gary, called David, like, hey, I got a bunch of guys that want to train, and a couple organizations that are back around here wanting to do shows and stuff. You think we could get a team going? So he's like, yeah, but we ain't got no building no more, nothing. And I just happen to know Jamie Chester real good.
Yeah.
Because my kids wrestled for Jamie.
That's right.
And Jamie had the building with the wrestling mats and the walls up and stuff. And Jamie was like, look, you got the building, build it. So we built a fight team again, and ended up having some guys come through who are really, really just naturally talented. And then when Coach Bailey and Coach Gary got with them and started teaching a lot of skill, like, he took off, and we had a couple of them take off, and we got like Carlos McGee still, and he was a 205 Cage of Honor champ, American